Is that the live performance thumbnail? I'm a rock star. Anyways, this is Ness here. I'm gonna go over some live performance tips. So the first thing you'll want to do is go to our webpage, go to sonyair.net/beatdj, and scroll down to the live performance section. And currently we don't have Linux setup instructions. I'm not sure how to do quad channel mixing on Linux, so if you know anything about that, please reach out to me. But for Mac or Windows, you can click on these links. So I am using a Mac, and what you want to do is you'll need an audio interface going into your computer, and your headphones coming out of your computer, and then your speakers are going to be connected to your audio interface like this. There's 6 steps to set it up. First, you want to make sure the drivers are installed for your audio interface. Most likely you've done that before. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is what an audio interface looks like. It's just like a box that plugs into your computer, and it does the audio processing, the digital to analog conversion, so that's what this thing is here, this audio interface. You'll plug your headphones into your computer, plug the audio face into the computer by the USB. Open the audio MIDI setup program. So you hit Command Space and search for, not preview, MIDI, audio MIDI setup. And what you'll want to do is just create a new aggregated device right here. And then you're going to set it up as shown in this document. So you'll have your headphones and your audio interface, and then you can turn on the drift correction for those. And then you're going to click here on Configure Speakers and select Quadraphonic. Then in your sound settings, up here, you're going to select DJ, or whatever you named your aggregated device, before you start Beat DJ. Then open Beat DJ, and you will see that down here where mine currently says stereo, it would say quad. And I'm not going to show that because I'm not really set up to do an actual live performance right now. I'm not sure how that would affect the screen recording software, but this would say quad, and then this here is your 4 channels, these diamonds. So the bottom one is the left headphone channel, bottom right is the right headphone channel, the top left is the speaker channel, and the top right is the right speaker channel. And so the first thing you'll want to do for a live performance is really you want to get used to the idea of improvising. This isn't like Ableton Live where you're going to set up a bunch of clips and like cue them. This is like we're starting from scratch when we start our set, and we're going to build something on the fly and improvise throughout. You can do some curation by setting up your source folder. So if you set your source folder to some file path, like, users, Nescroft, music, samples, maybe you would want to do specific genres if you want. You could do like techno samples. I just throw all mine into one big folder. And so you'll see if I just run music, that's the music folder. It's going to load up a ton of my samples. And really you want as many samples as possible with Beat DJ, because it can search through all of them and find all the good stuff for you through keyword searches. And the more you have, the easier it is to find what you need quickly by searching and deleting, and you can get samples online. There's tons of free sample packs online. But the first thing you'll want to do is set up your scale. So first I will do SCP, that's scale play. And if I run the full scale command, you can see the options there. So I'm just flipping through scales, and then I run scale stop. So that's typically how I would start a performance. I get up on stage, I'm starting to check my scale, find something that's good, get my tempo set where I want it. Usually I would start out, depending what genre start out slower, and then you can ramp up your tempo throughout the performance. So let's say we just start at 120, and I will start loading up. Usually I start with a kick unless I know that I want an ambient intro. So we'll just start with the kick for now because it's simple. It's pretty good. I used mel 0 to set the pitch index to 0. So that means the kick is going to be, right on the tonic frequency, and it's going to kind of hold the song together. So let's say this is just running, like the audience is there, I'm there, the kick is in my headphones right now, as you can see down here, but the audience can't hear it yet. I'm just going to pan that to the center. The audience can't hear it yet. They're kind of waiting for me to get going here. So the next thing I'll do is just load up some other sound. So we have this basic little drum pattern that I'm about to send to the audience, but I might add in something just a bit more interesting. So I'll just do precision splitter 9 pad, just going to create a pad. It's going to search for a pad sample, and since I'm using the number 9, it's going to be a long sound. If I did a shorter number or smaller number, it's going to make the chops of the sound shorter. But I just want something long and kind of ambient to like ease the intro of the set. That's perfect. Then I'm going to throw that on rack 1 and set the effects on rack 1 to just do some ambient reverb. Not echo, reverb. You can select it like this, and then you'll see the options. And I'm just going to turn it down. So I'll just create a nice ambiance. And you'll see I'm extending this loop length because I don't want it to be like constantly doing that sound. It'll be getting annoying. So I want to give it some space to add just a bit of variety to the beat. And then, this would all be still playing. I'm just pausing it so you can hear me talk, but I will do a move to move all of that to the audience now so they can hear this. Now I'm just going to keep loading more samples. That's pretty good. So the thing you want to keep in mind is that you got to make decisions quickly. I would say if there's a sound that fits that's like 50% good, if you're like, okay, this is good enough, like you should throw it in, because you got to think quickly on your feet in these situations. So I'm going to set the length to 32 just to round it, even it out, 32 16th notes. You could also set that using bars, so I could do like 2 bars. And I'm going to do the shuffle command with a lower probability, 4 out of 9, that each chunk will be on. And let's hear how that sounds. That's kind of cool. So I'm going to sort of like soften or like shorten the the decay with the volume envelope command. And I'm going to use this GRA, we call it granulate, but it's not like really like a granular synth or anything. It just kind of glitches the audio out. So I'll run that, and then I'm going to also run the GLI command. So every time the sound plays, it's going to kind of shuffle around. And I might even throw that on a separate rack and add some echo effects. Echo effects 2. Just hit enter a bunch of times to accept the defaults. So let's see how that sounds. So you can see this drum sound is changing every time it plays, it's shuffling around. And I'm also going to rename that to perks. And I might extend it just to give it a little bit more space. Shift it over. Now we can zoom out to get an idea of what our set looks like so far. And I need to move that perk into the audience. So this is the first step of the live performance. You're just gonna kind of like load up sounds. So that kind of, it's good enough, right? Maybe I'll turn off like the last few samples. And then I'm going to set up. So this is kind of like we have a groove going, but we want to add more diversity throughout. So we're going to set up a longer loop using the span command, which is going to give some song structure, but it's more like loop structure. So the span command, SPP, stands for span phrase. I'm going to run that, and you can see this number 5 means we're working with this sound here, the 5th sound. And I want to start it on the 2nd phrase, end it on the 4th phrase, and I want to do that every 4 phrases. So if I set my units to phrases, and go back to the beginning just to show you. Yeah, so you can see here's the phrase 2 at the top. That's where my sound starts. It goes to phrase 4 at the end, and then that whole thing loops again. So if I zoom out, you can see it goes from 2 to 4, and then it stops. It goes from 6 to 8. So basically we created a loop that's 4 phrases long, and the sound plays from 2 to 4 inside that, and then it just loops every 4 phrases. If I change these numbers, you can see, like if I do 2 to 3 every 4, then it goes from 2 to 3, and then when it gets to 4, it restarts this whole loop, and then it goes from 6 to 7, because, 2 plus 4 is 6, and 3 plus 4 is 7. Basically, we're just creating a loop and telling it when to play inside that. So that's really important for setting up the song structure to add variety, unexpected times that, the audience is expecting changes on these like predictable time frames. So let's hear how that sounds, and I'm just going to add more sounds with song structure like this, and then every time I add a sound, I'm going to fade it into the audience. And you can often like move it into the audience before it gets to the span, so then it has a clean start. Okay, so now some of these sounds that I started at the beginning are probably getting a little bit old. So let's mix up the kick a little bit. One way I like to do that is to just mess with the loop length for like certain chunks of time. So I'll play from phrase 12. And I'm just gonna mess with the kick. So I'll do 0 length 6. And then when it gets to the end of the phrase, then I put it back to 4. So that's the basics. I would say if you get to this point where you understand all that, basically you just need to practice. It's like an instrument. It takes time to understand your own workflow and the way you think about stuff. And then, you'll want to drop sounds out, mix in new sounds, and try to keep it cued at like regular intervals. Another thing you want to do throughout your set is change your scale once in a while. Just change your scale. You can preview it, which is going to come through your headphones and the audience won't hear this part. Flip through, find something you like, and then all your new sounds will go into the scale, but the current sounds will stay where they're at. If you want to start to adjust them into the scale sooner, you can do something like this, which is like 30% 3R mel. So like 30% of the sounds we're going to transition into the new scale. And that will just apply like a random sort of pitch shifting. And then another trick you can do is set up combos. So if I do combo and list, here are some of the ones I've set up. I haven't really had a chance to dive super deep on combos yet as much as I would like, but these are some that I've set up. I use this one quite a bit. These echo ones. So basically I turn on echo for all racks and then I turn it off. We'll turn on echo and high pass filter for all racks and then I turn it off, and that's good for build-ups. So I'll show you an example of how this combo works. So once I have set up a combo with the combo create, like combo create, then I would just enter the name of the combo, like echo to HPF4 or whatever, kind of like I did up here. I'll show you how that sounds. So 20 play from 20 phrases. I'm gonna do so this is where you would like do a build up. You could even like drop out the kick and like search for a new kick. So the audience can't hear that kick yet. And then what you're going to do is I have this other combo to drop out the echo. And then I'm going to fade my kick in while that drops out. And pan that to the center. Maybe add in a bass line. And then don't forget BPM changes once in a while. What you can do, I often start with a lower BPM and then I just use BPM up command. So you can do like BPM up, transition in like 2 phrases. I'll show you how that sounds. Oh, sorry, the BPM up command takes seconds, not phrases. So I'll do like 8 seconds. Another little tip for live performance stuff is like if you get something that's too crazy, you can do, if it's getting like there's too many sounds, you can just do O, which stands for old, and then delete, and that will delete our oldest sounds. Another trick you can do is do like, I don't know, 40% of random selected sounds. We're gonna just tighten up the volume envelope, and I'll show you how that works when you have like a bunch of sounds, so you can see how dramatic it can be and how cool it can be. So as I have all these sounds, basically just tightens it up like that. And then what you could do is do low frequency is L, and delete all your low frequency sounds, and then put in a new kick, or maybe even like a kick like that for a little breakdown section. So it's really just about experimenting. Technically I would have moved all those sounds into the mix. I'm just showing you some quick tips for the sake of time, but for an actual performance I would be a little bit more thorough with like how I, what sounds I add. Yeah, that's the gist of live performance stuff. And I think a big part of the live performance is want to practice, and you want to be able to make changes to sounds on the fly. So you need to understand all the commands like shuffle, volume envelope, dynamics, melody, because what you want to be able to do is take any sound that the program throws at you and be like, oh, I hear a way that could fit, and try to make it fit as quickly as possible, and then move on. And then you also, like, I noticed the first 20 minutes of a set usually aren't that great. It takes a while to get into the flow, and then the next 40 minutes or about 30 minutes after that is usually the sweet spot where you get a lot of good stuff happening. So when you practice, try to go over the 20-minute mark. And another thing is prepare mentally for the set. You want to be in a good headspace, be hydrated, have your water with you. A lot of what this is your internal, what's going on internally is what's going to project into the audience, and that's what's so cool about it, is that you have that ability to really express yourself. So think about when you get up to play, when you're doing your performance, what are you trying to express to the audience? Kind of meditate on that before, and just get in touch with yourself and really get into that zone. And that's what it's going to take your performance to the next level. You'll notice with practice and with each time you do it, whether or not you're in that zone is basically determines if your performance is going to be good. So a lot of it's just mental preparation also. And yeah, that's all I have for now. If you have any more questions, curious about any of this, I'm happy to make another video. Anything beat DJ related, it's super fun for me. So thanks for watching.